guys, VolcanoTheBat here, aka Cycler. So, let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie. In preparation for the movie, I decided to revisit the first Sonic movie, also since I hadn't seen the movie since I first saw it in cinemas on opening day. I still remember getting up to attend the first 10 AM session, and I certainly am glad I rewatched it, because while I hadn't forgotten a lot, there were some things that made me go, oh, wow, I don't recall seeing that. Like how Eggman has badniks written above the evil lab when he's going to fix the power outage. Minor, but sometimes it's the minor things you don't catch on the first viewing, but may on the second. It was also good to see the Tails post-credit scene again, to really see how they've modified the scene in the sequel, because I'm pretty sure it is the exact same shot, just reused, but with a slightly altered Tails design. With that said, I am going to be talking in depth about the sequel, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, this review will contain spoilers, so you have been warned. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie, was directed by Jeff Fowler, who also directed the first Sonic movie. First and foremost, consistency. I love that they kept not just the director who knows what these movies are aiming for, but they didn't get a voice replacement for Tails. I dead set thought, because Colleen played Tails as just a post-credit scene cameo in the last film, that there would be studio interferences with them wanting a more known name to voice the character. I was nerved that they were going to get someone like Tom Holland to voice either Sonic in the last movie, or Tails for this movie. And please, make no mistake, I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man and as an actor. But lately, Hollywood has been overusing the actor a lot. And yes, while if this did happen, like Disney picks up on would, he would have been heard as a voice and not seen, I'm that type of viewer that can quite easily pick up on who's voicing characters, be they voice actors or actors. I picked up on Mike Pollock's voice when he was voicing Ella from Sonic X, likewise Fatiguous Beaver and Maya Fink from Sonic Boom, both of which were shows I was watching in my early teens. I even picked up on the fact that the voice actor for Knuckles in 06 was also voicing Mephiles. And I say voice actor because I literally didn't even know Dan Green's name back then. The same about me picking up on voices could potentially be said about Jim Carrey's voice as Eggman. There is a line in this movie where Knuckles and Eggman have just found the temple to where the Master Emerald is, and Eggman says, "I found it!" in a very Eggman-fashioned way. However, and this may very well not apply to everyone else, but because I pick up on these kinds of things, I tend to hear other roles coming from what we were given, such as, "I found you! I found it!" And not to take away from these amazingly talented actors and voice actors, because they all bring such life and uniqueness to all the characters they voice, but you get the point. If I heard Tom Holland as either Sonic or Tails, I would have just heard Spider-Man, especially with lines like,
"Turns out with great power comes great power-hungry bad guys."
And perhaps this is why I was inwardly hoping for Mike Pollock to take on the role for live-action Eggman, mainly because of his irreplaceable and iconic voice as Dr. Ivor Eggman Robotnik. Still, I love Jim Carrey from all the movies I've grown up with him in, and I must say, he has impressed me with his take on Eggman in both movies. Sometimes I really did forget that I was looking at Jim Carrey in Eggman gear, but my overall point to this is that I'm really glad that they stayed consistent. But alright, let's talk about the story. It starts off with Eggman being quite obsessed with getting Sonic back for sending him to Mushroom Hill. He's borderline going mad, destroying a Sonic figure he's miraculously made with the limited resources he has there. Somehow he's even able to play chess to keep his IQ locked and loaded. The story is kickstarted when Eggman tries to use the quill from Sonic that he was using to power his tech to combat Sonic in the last movie, causing a massive explosion only with no results to get him home, at least in the moment. And real quick, I thought Sonic snatched the quill before sending Eggman away, but he just took the energy out of the quill with his electricity. So how did Eggman manage to get the quill to start glowing again? Resources, I'm guessing? A little later, these hawk or owl-looking human-sized masked agents show up from an alternate dimension to investigate. I couldn't tell if these were meant to be echidnas that were wearing the masks because they were at war and presumably enslaved all the owls back at South Island in present time, shortly after the events of Sonic leaving. Either way, they're pretty easily overpowered by Eggman's traps, until the legend himself, Knuckles the Echidna, shows up looking for, you guessed it, the Master Emerald. More on the faithful backstories later. Meanwhile, Sonic is secretly trying to be a Dark Knight by stopping robberies, trying to use his power for the good of mankind. And it was at this point where he saves a guy from a truck that was about to explode, and there's a kid in front of the disassembled truck with an ice cream, staring silently into his soul. And I almost said out loud, "That was totally wicked!" There's actually a lot of intentional and unintentional superhero references, for better or worse, but I guess we're gonna start somewhere with building up this Sega CU. After saving the day, and heading back home quietly to pretend he's still asleep, Sonic is quickly told to hurry and get up because he has fishing plans with the Donut Lord himself. It's around this time where it's implied that this is where Sonic picks up his fear of water, when he's so tired that he falls into the water when waiting for the fish to bite. What is this? Another big fishing adventure? But all good, because Tom saves Sonic. Only to confirm that he came to check Sonic when he was sleeping. Only to find a fart-joking dummy in place, with that bank robbery heist all over the news. Shortly after telling Sonic that he's not quite mature enough to be the hero the world needs, the Donut Lord and his wife, using the power of Sonic's teleporter rings, head to Hawaii to attend Maddie's sister's wedding, who interestingly got popped the question curiously fast. In the meantime, Sonic promises that everything will be fine, you know, being the house-ditching crime fighter he is. And it's at this point where I got some Home Alone vibes, mainly when Macaulay Culkin finds out,
I made my family disappear.
only let's turn that mess to the scales of, say,
199.2.
Now, this is where things start to get interesting. This is supposedly when the post-credit scene takes place, showing Tails with a slightly upgraded design, now wearing a bit of a backpack of gadgets. And it was here where I couldn't go any further without smiling to how beautiful everyone looks in this film. Sonic looks beautiful, Knuckles looks amazingly handled with care, and Tails too looks as flawless as the others. If anything, I do prefer this design slightly more so than the post-credit design. I grew up with a yellow multi-tailed fox, not an orange. Well, at least not for this franchise. As things get suspiciously spooky after the power goes out when Sonic's chilling under the cover of night, even our blue blur gets a bit spooked, as it appears someone's hacked into the TV, which initially I thought maybe Tails was trying to introduce himself and leave an impactful impression on Sonic. And boy does he. Just, not yet. Instead, Dr. Ivor Robotnik himself is back and raring to go for revenge, to the point of getting a bit wicked, and in more ways than one.
I'll get you, my pretty.
And your little dog, too.
Which I'm probably reading too far into this, but I couldn't help but sort of see this as foreshadowing to Eggman's color upgrades in the final act. Just me? Yeah, I thought so. Just as Sonic is boosted with confidence to show why Eggman shouldn't have come back, now Sonic has a new threat to deal with. Enter Knuckles. I certainly got some Forces vibes here, with Sonic being overpowered with surprise to how Sonic is no longer the one in control. But in all fairness, Sonic 3 did do it first, so meh. Also, side note, Knuckles' voice is incredible. It captured the essence of Michael McGahan's and Scott Dreier's chilled and laid-back vibes, Dan Green's charming growl and naiveness and tone, and Travis Willingham's scruffy gullibleness. But at the same time, there's a type of tribal sound to Elba's performance which is a surprisingly fresh and welcome change to the guardian of limitless power. This was a really great casting choice in my opinion, and can't see how they could have done it better outside of getting any of the game's voices. Anywho, Sonic insists Knuckles has the wrong guy when he begins asking of the Master Emerald's whereabouts, calling himself the guardian that has been entrusted to such limitless power, calling Sonic the apprentice of Longclaw, the former naturally igniting the drooling attention of Eggman in, but surprised in realizing that they do have some kind of a connection to Longclaw. Sonic is quickly overpowered by the Echidna, who's about to get the upper hand until Tails comes in driving a cop car and Tomorrowland's Knuckles in a very unexpected way, introducing himself to Sonic and quickly escaping with him before Knuckles fully recovers. It's around here where we get a small chase that leads to some quick exposition where we learn Tails has been watching Sonic for some time now, viewing him quite like an idol, and that his energy surge from the last film caught the attention of our beloved two-tailed fox friend. Also, we learn more about the Master Emerald, making Sonic react with,
The Master Emerald? That's just a bedtime story.
"Ain't that just a myth?" Which is a nice way to have him aware of the power's existence, while believing it didn't exist. Sonic and Tails manage to give Knuckles and Eggman the slip, with Tails revealing to everyone his unique copter ability, flying away with Sonic into the lit moon. Eggman and Knuckles form a quick alliance due to Ivor's extreme interest and fascination with the thought of using Knuckles' gullibleness to his advantage as he calls Agent Stone for his latte, confirming he has returned. After everything's calmed down, it's here where a Force Ghost Longclaw confirms from the map given to Sonic that the Master Emerald was concealed on Earth. Which you then start to wonder, of all the planets in the galaxy, in the universe, that they could have chose to keep a sacred and mystical emerald that, you know, kind of possesses... Why did they choose the one planet where everyone's gonna, you know, want it for personal, factual, scientifical, dissectual reasons? Ah, well. I guess you could say that they didn't know what the civilization was like, though I do wish we got a bit more on who brought it to Earth and when exactly. They shortly decide on going after and getting the Master Emerald first, before Knuckles and Eggman. Okay, so this is kind of where I got confused. Is it me, or if they just didn't look for the Master Emerald, would Eggman and Knuckles not have found it? Like, I get that if they went with that, they could have confronted Sonic about the map, especially since Sonic does have connections to Longclaw. But it did feel as though, like the games, them getting to the Emerald first, only for Eggman to take the opportunity to use it before our heroes, is just an overused concept. Which is strange because we later find out that Tails and Knuckles' backstories are faithfully similar to the games and shows, and yet I don't see this as overused. Maybe because instead of going after the Master Emerald alone in previous games and shows, it's the Chaos Emeralds, being 7 specific objects compared to 1, and because of which, there's more opportunities for meh kind of reasons for how Eggman gets the emeralds. I guess it really depends how you view these kinds of concepts and backstories. Eggman and Agent Stone are reunited and confirm the Doctor's scheme of using the imbecile echidna to get what he wants.
Why are we working with this imbecile?
And it was at this point where I just wanted Knuckles to say, "You guys know I can't hear you, right?" Because he's literally right behind them, and then immediately continues reading the Sonic messages as soon as they stop bickering.
Another boring night at home.
I was even hoping that he was going along with it to surprise the fans that he was the one using Eggman when we all thought it was the other way around. And this same type of thing happens again. Eggman is about to backstab Knuckles later on whilst muttering,
You're as useful to me now as a backstage pass to Limp Bizkit.
and I'm like, Knuckles! Knuckles! Where are your ears? Anywho, Sonic and Tails head to a bar to spend the night. That's all that should have happened. Because, my goodness, this bar scene was easily the worst part of the movie. And it was sadly worse than the bar scene from the first movie. And that was like, whoa, okay. We get a cool appearance of the Miles Electric Translator for an attempted use of translating their way for answers, which leads to some shaky translations, which then leads to everyone ready to murder to, what, huh? Okay. To then... I'm sorry, but what? A fucking dance-off?
Dance! 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 You want to dance with me as well?
I know this is going to appeal to kids, but I promise you Kid Me would have seen this and been,
I didn't like it. Can we get this musical wannabe jank out of here?
whatever. At least this didn't end with another Quicksilver sequence. After everything's calmed down, as Sonic's explaining the plan for the morrow, he turns around to find Tails asleep. I thought this was a nice callback to when Donut Lord turns to Sonic just after he said that he was going to stay up all night, only to be out in a mere second. In some ways, it does feel as though Sonic is on that journey of being in the hero and leader's shoes. Anywho, in the morning, Sonic and Tails arrive at the mountains in hopes of finding the Master Emerald. And here we get a pretty cool animation as Tails translates the ancient scriptures. And after punching the right symbols from the map Longclaw gave to Sonic in the ancient contraption, the mystical piece of rock begins scanning the whole room like this is some syndrome tech. In the end, all they receive is a compass to what essentially is Labyrinth Zone, with of course the Master Emerald within. Which, by the way, in my opinion, is a refreshing twist to have the Emerald located there. Knuckles and Eggman shortly appear, and it was here where I was uncertain whether Knuckles used one of his teleporter rings, like the one he used to meet the Doctor, and used them to warp here once they knew where they were going courtesy of the messages they were able to hack into, pretending to be the Donut Lord thanks to Agent Stone's hidden lab in the coffee shop he now owns, called the Mean Bean. A neat way to call back to Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean machine, and without feeling forced. With everyone here now in the temple, this is where we get the scene of Sonic grabbing and chucking the missile away like he's what, silver now? I could see this annoying others more than it did me, but it's really how far your sense of disbelief can stretch, I guess. Destroying a few of the drone bots, Sonic turns one of its broken pieces into a snowboard, using it in an attempt to escape. A nice callback to Adventure 1. And a slither of 06 if you remember the broken piece of debris Sonic uses as a snowboard then. Definitely put a smile on my face to see 2 pretty well-known stages from my childhood on the big screen and in live action. Knuckles does the same thing as Sonic, prepping a board from a broken Badnik's debris, which he does in a very badass fashion I might also add, relentlessly destroying a mech from Eggman, and with ease, despite being the one working with him. Now why do I have a sudden urge to see Knuckles on a snowboard in White Acropolis in Pier 6? I'll shut up. All as this is happening, Tails flies to catch up, whilst Eggman chases after them in the Eggmobile.
Oh, yeah! This is happening.
That too made an appearance? Let's actually go. And for real, it actually looks nice and really fits in with the consistency of the other tech that Eggman has. At this rate, I wouldn't be surprised if the egg carrier shows up in the next movie. Though, if it does, we probably shouldn't expect it to look the way it does in Adventure Noro 6 based on the tech consistency here. But it is interesting to think about how the egg carrier could look with the movie tech design. Okay, so this is where we get a Quicksilver sequence in the movie. And it was here where I jumped out of my seat to the most coincidental thing that has ever happened in my life. To those that have seen my 2021 patches video, I used the same summertime music that was used in this sequence in not just the video, but on literal clips of Sonic snowboarding both on debris and in a daytime white Acropolis. It's almost as if I saw a secret screening that I couldn't tell anyone about but could hint at in video editing. No, the closest I got to this was its opening day on the 31st, when a lot of others had to wait a few more days. Cause yeah, this really made me have a very strange and different surprising reaction, with emotions and revelations the likes of which I've never reacted like till now. Cause it's not even Sonic music, it was just a piece of music I like to listen to, being the orchestral nerdy geek I am. Cause all I saw of the movie prior to its release was the first trailer. Or was it? No, if only. With that said, I do wonder, having not seen the second trailer, if it used the music. I'll actually do a quick reaction to it here after I'm done with the review to those that are interested. But anyway, back to the story. After Knuckles catches up to Sonic, and our Blue Blur calls him the Winter Soldier.
Oh, great, the Winter Soldier.
Do you see the amount of hero references yet? There's a brief moment between Sonic and Knuckles where the Echidna reflects on his past, and we get a pretty faithful backstory, which I'm pretty satisfied with. I almost thought we were going to see Tikal for a second, but to be honest, it's never really been clear to me the age difference between the two. But Knuckles is surprised to hear that Sonic 2 was left alone on that fateful night. But he quickly calls lies when Tails approaches them, trapping the Echidna and asking if Sonic's alright. It's here where we get a nice moment where Knuckles acknowledges that Sonic was willing to choose to save the fox over getting the compass back after the Doctor caught it when passing it to Tails. He realizes that this is where the Doctor's convictions and his own differ, making him ask himself if he's on the right side. Anywho, it becomes quite apparent that the Doctor blasted one too many snowflakes. For now, an avalanche caused by the commotion is beginning to build up and quick. All as this is happening, Donut Lord is still in Hawaii, and actually seated at the wedding ceremony. At this point, you probably know based on the pacing and editing how this is going to intertwine. Because Sonic lost his rings, he needs Donut Lord to use the one that they used to travel to Hawaii in order to allow Sonic and Tails to escape the avalanche, calling and informing him that it is an emergency.
Signify the...
Signify the commitment.
So help me, Thomas! Sorry.
Donut Lord has no choice but to take the call, and after being quickly informed, he chucks the ring with Cyclops' passion, only for the ring to drop as if it were powerless. It's a miracle that it's not animal specific, because with the quick revelation, he quickly realizes that the wedding ring and the teleporter ring got switched, which I remember noticing the wedding ring in the previous scene, thinking they looked a bit too similar to Sonic's rings, but didn't even think it would come back into play now. Silly me. Knowing that she's going to destroy him if he intervenes, Donut Lord insists on interrupting the wedding to save Sonic, trying to inform them that he needs to see the ring for just a second. Meanwhile, Rachel keeps insisting that Randall, her fiancé, should ignore Donut Lord and focus on him continuing the ceremony. Stress quickly turns to stressed. Donut Lord has no choice but to take action, punching Randall square in the face, knocking him down to nab the ring, naturally shocking everyone. But just as shocking is when Donut Lord chucks the ring and portals Sonic, Tails, and an overload of snow to the ceremony. If you can even still call it that. With explanations trying to be made and quickly to what Sonic has been up to, Rachel is naturally furious and ready to destroy the Donut Lord. But wait, there's more! Turns out all of Randall and his friends are secret agents, coming from the organization that existed in the last movie. The organization that decided to bring Eggman into the investigation of the Power Surge. After Donut Lord claimed that Sonic wasn't around anymore in the last movie, the organization evolved into a secret division known as the Guardian Units of Nations, more commonly known as GUN.
Your worst nightmare.
It was cleverly done, but Rachel calls it GUN, while the commander says gun, knowing that it was somewhat of a controversial abbreviation, much like that of Star Wars with AT-AT or AT-AT. I felt a bit down when this was all said. I only just recently looked up what GUN meant, but when they explained it here before abbreviating it to GUN, I totally didn't pick up on it till it was too late. It just was all said. It all happened so fast.
Guardian Units of Nations was born.
GUN, seriously?
Gun, yeah.
So yeah, GUN have been keeping tabs on the Lord clan, so much so that they were willing to get Agent Randall to pop the question to Rachel. You know, as a mission. GUN has made some scummy missions, but it certainly added to the lengths they were willing to go to get the job done. Only they kind of softened the scumminess of the mission later on for the kiddies, so... But yeah, they take in Sonic and an unconscious Tails that the Hedgehog's pretty concerned about. And oh boy, Rachel is ready to shift her...
So help me, Thomas! Are you an agent? I'm done listening!
Yeah-ness to Randall, before being restrained, making Randall feel bad for the realization of the repercussions for taking on such a scummy mission. Which is kinda nice in a sense, but as I said, it kinda softens the brutality and agents of GUN, for better or worse. We then get easily the second least favourite part of the film for me, that being the small subplot where Maddie and Rachel team up to take on, you guessed it, GUN, with the assistance of the gadgets left in Tails' backpack. Because of course, that wasn't confiscated with high security, because apparently Sonic conveniently dropped it, and they didn't pick it up. Alright. But perhaps even more frustrating is their lack of experience with, for one, taking on literal trained agents, but also conveniently being able to wield the gadgets as if Lister's sprinkled some luck virus juice on the gadgets. Actually, forget sprinkled, I'd say more like we're completely submerged in a river of it. It honestly felt cringy to watch Rachel be all,
I did not mean to do that!
conveniently bataranged all the experienced agents, all whilst the inexperienced Maddie conveniently ducks when she just so happens to know when to duck, when all the experienced agents just so happen to turn off their thinking caps for that golden minute. Very considerate agents. This did feel out of place, and I was actually hoping they wouldn't be afraid to show how fierce a force GUN is, and how this is a force to be reckoned with. I borderline was thinking they were going to go all ET with the experiments when taking Sonic and Tails in, calling them extraterrestrials.
He's on our side!
He's an uncontrolled extraterrestrial.
But all good, because the dynamic duo use gadgets they don't know a thing about and shoot an agent up presumably to his death, rescuing everyone. Shortly after, an unhinged Rachel is ready to shoot the platoon leader to get by to confront Randall and get her revenge. But it's fine, because he jumps in the way anyway, taking the taser like a man from his platoon leader. So now all's forgiven because the feelings are real. Okay, again, I get softening the bleakness, but shit man, how are we gonna take these agents seriously now, masked or unmasked? The sad thing is that it preps us later on for the already confirmed third installment to this growing Sega CU, which undoubtedly will include GUN, potentially more so than this movie did if the source material is anything to go off of. But because of this, I don't feel in the slightest bit intimidated if the likes of two everyday people with no particular talent can recklessly use some gadgets an 8-year-old Fox made that has proven to make tech that can fail and in this universe, but still conveniently treat trained and experienced agents like they're the joke of the goddamn movie. As a child, I never really cared for GUN and its agents in the past, which might be why I was hoping to be wowed by them here. But even for the actual kids that saw this movie, there was literally a kid in the audience that said out loud, and I shit you not, word for word, she said,
"This is stupid."
Like, that says it all. Needless to say, I'm not that impressed with the first impression, even if I am glad they set up their introduction so the exposition overload won't be needed for when the third film eventually drops. But anyway, around this time, Knuckles and Eggman locate Labyrinth Zone, and cue the scene I briefly mentioned where Eggman's all, "I found you!" With our heroes free, Sonic bursts off in a mere second before Tails awakens. And we get to a part of the film that, while gave literal incredible vibes, it once again put a smile on my face, making me utter in awe. This could be a level. This could be an amazing level. Heck, this could be a game for that matter. Something I really do hope Frontiers explores, boost or no boost. Anywho, as Sonic enters Labyrinth Zone, it was here he's sliding down the diagonal zigzagged water slopes where I realized how Labyrinth Zone-esque this really is, especially in a shot that appears a little before this, where it pans up and we really see a literal maze-like labyrinth of a temple. Here is where Knuckles and Eggman blast their way through to the Master Emerald. And with it in plain sight, this is when I mentioned Eggman was about to take Knuckles out of the picture behind the back like the hack he is. But good thing Knuckles didn't hear him and Eggman took his time, because Sonic unintentionally crashes down, starting Sonic v Knuckles Phase 2. This was pretty badass, not gonna lie, even if short. Sonic, I'm pretty sure, uses a spin dash for the first time in this battle, and the sound it makes is pure satisfaction. The way he had bound back and forward into his opponent was just badass. It felt like a bit of a callback to the last film where he did something like this to Eggman in the final act, but I got more vibes to when Rock Lee was 8-gating the blood-smelling sand out of Gara's armor. You feel the brute power in Sonic's spin dash as he crushes Knuckles into the staircase. Even Knuckles looked like he was feeling the Knuckles Slam effects. But Knuckles fights back relentlessly, getting ready to rock the consciousness out of Sonic, till Sonic intentionally or unintentionally uses Knuckles' gullibleness, stirring his attention with the facts that Eggman's about to steal the Master Emerald, and for himself. As Eggman monologues about how friends equals dookie, Sonic replies with, "Oh no." And not gonna lie, I low-key would have preferred to hear Knuckles say it for the same reasons they brought back.
You know,
I'm something of a scientist myself.
Among the plenty of other fan servicey quotes in No Way Home. I mean, I'm not all that sure how memed Knuckles is from Adventure is compared to the likes of Silver's.
It's no use!
But I still think it's just as infamous. But oh well. The Master Emerald fuses with Eggman, and we get something that I've always wanted to see for a long time, surprisingly. And that's basically an Emerald-powered Eggman. If you guys have been watching some of my streams for a while now, you might have heard me mention it. We've seen it with hedgehogs, we've seen it with foxes and echidnas, we've even seen a tease of it used for negative purposes by the hero, reaffirming that emeralds can transform your thoughts into power, and will react differently if they are negative or positive. But we haven't seen the main antagonist, Dr. Eggman, in a super form, using the power for negative purposes, making a dark super Eggman. But now, this so far really is the closest look to that childish idea I once had fully being realized. And my, was that a pretty snazzy performance there, have I ever seen one before. It changed the way he thought, the way he sounded and spoke. It even changed the red in his outfit to green to tonally match the Master Emerald, which again I may be reading too far into with the whole Wicked Witch line foreshadowing, but call it what you will. And obviously it's given Eggman the equivalent to that of a super form, if not even greater, but well, I say greater, but in this universe, it is or was the aggregate of the 7 Chaos Emeralds, rather its own separate entity. At least I think. I could be wrong on that given what happens to the Master Emerald and Chaos Emeralds toward the end, which I am fine with. However, it does mean no real faithful chances for the Super Emeralds, but that really is a pipe dream at this point, even for the games. But I guess if that ever did come to fruition, it probably would be its own entity from its own multiverse universe. More on that later. But as Eggman flies away, Sonic sees Knuckles drowning and does everything he can to help lift the rock that's trapping him, till eventually, they work together, and with the power of teamwork, get it budged. However, Sonic, knowing this would be a fear he didn't want to face, is now watching Knuckles as he swims to the surface while he struggles to swim or regain composure. It was here where I was waiting every second for an orchestral drowning piece to start playing, reflecting Sonic's inability to regain his composure and struggle to get moving. But, yeah, missed opportunity in my opinion, but no doubt, this wouldn't have been soft enough for the kids to the point that they could have had scary nightmares because of the Jaws-like terror in the music. Oh wait, that happened anyway in the games. But no fear, kids, Knuckles is no villain, like Uncle Silver. He's just been manipulated by the true villain. Sonic is mildly surprised to be saved, but Knuckles acknowledges Sonic's heroic persona and actions and recognizes him as a more trustworthy team player than that egghead. Meanwhile, Eggman prepares himself in a Death Egg robot. That's an interesting move. Appropriate for how Sonic eventually combats this, with the form that he takes, but arguably inconsistent to where the robot is meant to be based. I mean, it literally has its name in the title. Not saying that we should have had a Death Star-like threat, especially this soon, because even for the next film that would be pushing it. But now I'm left wondering, what the heck are we gonna call this now? Robot? You know, get rid of Death Egg, just robot? Big Egg robot? I don't know. It's just not the same. It doesn't have that same ring to it. Hey, that's a thought. The coffee shop's named Mean Bean, and Eggman builds the machine here, so it's the Mean Bean machine, right? No?
Very, very proud of you right now.
Okay, I'll shut up. Anywho, Agent Stone starts begging the Doctor,
Doctor! Take me with you!
like life is so meaningless without him. I mean, shit, man. If life in this universe is identical to ours, but then some alien hedgehog runs fast enough to knock out the power, and you're working with a doctor that's willing to uncover the source of its power to rule? More power to you if you're willing to risk your life to escape to a higher lifestyle. The Doctor electrifyingly takes him with him, whilst many copter pilots are diving out of the cockpit in fear of getting caught up in the mayhem being unveiled. I distinctly remember noticing and making a note of one of the copters that had the model name SA-2. Now, don't know about this one, but I'm pretty sure it's a self-explanatory Easter egg, unless I'm stupid and there are copter names that conveniently were chosen for a video game movie sequel that references a video game sequel's title that this has a post-credit scene referencing back to said reference later on. It's here where we get the beautiful appearance of the tornado in all its glory, which was cool to see Knuckles tagging along for the short time he does, before doing a very Knuckles thing and splitting up to do things his way, at least for now. All while Sonic faithfully hops to the top of the tornado, sticking as faithful as ever, looking mighty sweet, till Sonic gets yeeted off screen by a missile. Meanwhile, with Agent Stone and the Death Egg robot, he tries to navigate through some of the miscellaneous controls of the enormous contraption. It's around here also where he literally holds up a literal Sega Robotnik manual, product placement logo and all, stating,
Right here in the manual.
For the Death Egg. So, I guess that's what it's called? The Robotnik? Ugh. Anyway, Team Sonic quickly reach a conclusion to how they need to take the Death Egg robot down, simply by combining Sonic's speed, Tails' brains, and Knuckles' power. So, they split up, with Knuckles and Tails taking the left and right, climbing their way to the head, while Sonic gets Eggman's attention at the bottom, since Eggman's first and main goal most of all is to eliminate Sonic, being the only threat that can combat Eggman's plans to achieve world domination. Eggman basically declares he's going to take over the entirety of Green Hills, then eventually the universe, and then the multiverse. Yeah. Okay. We are 2 movies in, and they have already mentioned the multiverse. That's cute. Don't get me wrong, I do like the idea, but there is such a thing as less is more. At least in these early stages of the game. Because even for Eggman standards, this really does seem like he's in over his head. In the post-credit scene of the first Iron Man movie, they didn't mention Thanos, Spider-Man, or the multiverse. They took it nice and slow and slowly introduced the Avengers into it. So, whether this is trying to be foreshadowing or not, as an intelligent robot once said,
"The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Slow and steady wins the race."
I just don't want them to rush into things and bring in the likes of Team Chaotix and Silver and Blaze and Cream and Rouge, but don't know what to do with them. Or what they do have them doing in the film is out of character or handled without care, mainly because there's too many characters to handle in such a short space of time. Sega and Sonic teams struggle with handling these characters simply because the gameplay is only focused on Sonic because of the boost formula and he's the main character. And I get the obsession with trying to capitalize off of the success of the Marvel and DC's cinematic universe successness, but the one thing I hope they're all aware of is how much thin ice these projects really are, and with enough mistakes could shatter their plans and projects, or completely shift them into a reboot that's completely animated, much like what happened with the Smurfs. Ultimately, I just don't want them to jump the gun. Because right now it seems like they almost feel overconfident. With that said, perhaps they are in the works of taking it slowly, building characters up one by one, starting with Sonic, then in the form of the confirmed Knuckles spin-off, then perhaps in the future maybe even a Tails spin-off later on, depending on the former's success. I'd even be on board with an Amy and Metal spin-off if that's done right. But anyway, you get my drift. I just hope they don't jump into No Way Home plans this early in the game. We're still in Phase 1 days after all. Anywho, it's here where Eggman reveals that if Cyclops is gonna be in these movies, he's gotta utilize that multiverse power through his contraptions. So yeah, heat vision. Something I'm pretty sure the games never did, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but otherwise, would add to the Marvel DC bucket list of things to implement off and add to the growing Sega CU. Yeah, whatever. Before anything major happens, Eggman is interrupted by our 2-tailed fox friend and his shadow clones. Eggman eventually gets the best of Tails by overpowering them all with
Chakra. He did all that with just his chakra.
But have no fear, because Knuckles is here again to save the day, and what a satisfying punch. And forgive me for comparing so often, but I shit you not. It was at this very moment when Knuckles hits Eggman to when I distinctly remember hearing Tom Holland's Spider-Man theme subtly in the score.
Beautiful.
Keep an ear out for it next time you get to this scene. Hopefully I'm not as deaf as Echidna is.
Mean! Approved!
Where are your ears?
Shut up!
Which actually, now that I think about it, this wouldn't be the first time that Sonic is lifting music from Spider-Man. Or 6? Guess they've always been trying to capitalize off of something. With the Master Emerald slugged out of Eggman, quite literally, Eggman has no choice but to strike now while the Death Egg still runs but on backup power source. At this point, the Master Emerald is right in front of Sonic and ready for anything. Meanwhile, Donut Lord and his wife appear and try to get Sonic to safety, only to barely escape a kick from the Death Egg robot. Interestingly, The Master Emerald, having used up its energy, is forced to shatter, separating the Chaos Emeralds from the Master Emerald, absorbing their power with his will alone, all as Eggman goes to finish him off with a crushing blow from the foot of the Death Egg robot. But it's no use, for it's too powerful for you to overcome, Egghead. Sonic has gone supersonic. And good god, the visuals are glamorous. A real treat to the fans. And I feel one that is appropriate since Supersonic, likewise Tails, the Death Egg robot, and the Tornado debuted in Sega's Sonic 2. With the power of the Chaos Emeralds, Sonic is more than ready to defeat Eggman again. But as if Eggman forgets that the tables are turned, he pretends to talk him down to sort things out, to let bygones be bygones, as he says.
Well, this is new.
Until he tries to slap Supersonic a couple of times with the Death Egg's hand, met with only futile results. With ease, Supersonic blasts through the Death Egg robot as if it's child's play, really reminding me of the scene where he kinda just, flesh wounds his way in and out of perfect Gaia. Of course, not as brutal, but still in a mighty badass fashion, I'd like to add. Then, we easily get the one scene that made me geek out to Blur Studios' continued acknowledgement to Earth 6.
Okay, we're not friends.
Which, I think I'll just play my reaction just after seeing the movie.
Speaking of the Earth 6 callbacks, yeah, we literally have a scene where Sonic taps on the giant kind of robot menace to Sonic and tips it over. A very, very nice callback, and I geeked out when I saw that. I was like, oh my god, Blur Studio, because they did Earth 6 pre-rendered cutscenes, have now done a callback to this in this scene, in this final showdown. That really put a smile on my face. There was a lot of scenes, actually, a lot of moments that put a smile on my face, but that definitely was like, oh my god, thank you guys so much for acknowledging this, thank you for not doing what the games are doing, where they're kind of just, they're afraid to acknowledge Earth 6 because it's like, oh, this game's not really well received, so we're gonna never ever mention it again, or if we are, we're gonna be very, very quick and vague, and, if we're gonna honor it during our anniversaries, we're just going to put now loading instead of a brief text of the story. It's just, yeah, I'm really glad that they are not afraid to acknowledge the existence of Earth 6 and do like a quick tribute to it. So that really does mean a lot to me, being an Earth 6 fan. So that was very, very nice.
Donut Lord goes to approach Sonic, only for Knuckles to warn him that he's not the Sonic that you once knew. And here I actually thought they might have been flipping the script a little, where we could maybe see the repercussions to using the Emerald's power for too long, or something along those lines, with the rings counting down in the games. Or what happens if you use this power right after it's being used to transform negative thoughts into power. But all good, because Sonic just glares and storms a wish to life, wishing for Cloudy with a chance of chili dogs. Alright, fair enough. Shortly after, Super Sonic transforms back into normal Sonic, and they're all reunited in a comforting way as Sonic chooses to give up the power of the Chaos Emeralds, even if they do keep shards of the Master Emerald. It was at this point where it was uncertain what happened with the Chaos Emeralds, because they didn't really show where they went. They only really showed Sonic kind of just scattering them up into the sky, so what, are they in space? Did they kind of dispel across the world? Yeah, we really didn't see much of anything. Which I guess that's probably leaving it open for the sequel to answer that. Because with what we got, they really try to emphasize that Sonic really did give up the power of the Chaos Emeralds, while Knuckles fixes the Master Emerald from its shards. And this is what I mean where I said I'm not really sure if the Chaos Emeralds are the aggregate of the Master Emerald anymore, because before it kind of seemed like that was the case, but now that they are separate and the Master Emerald is now fixed, I'm left wondering, is it a separate entity? Is there hope for the Super Emeralds eventually? No, I don't know. But it did get me wondering, because yeah, now that it is fused back together, does that mean it's gonna slowly produce another aggregate that builds up the Master Emerald? Potentially the Super Emeralds? I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but I would be curious to hear what you guys think about this. Next time we see the gang, they're all playing baseball, which was a really nice way to bring this back from the first film to show that Sonic really isn't alone anymore. I'm pretty sure they even had Sonic say the line once again with,
ugh, I can't with that guy.
I can't with this guy.
And it ends on a wholesome high note. The end.
Except not really, because the post-credit scene reveals Agent Stone is still out there and the government thought they could make Eggman disappear, but there are connections to Professor Gerald Robotnik, which reveals Project Shadow.
Okay. Even though I wasn't expecting this, despite all the gossip on Twitter, I still felt that I saw this a mile away when they were just talking about trying to make Eggman disappear. I still remember in my seat saying out loud, Gerald Robotnik. And Shadow? Okay. And thankfully the volume of the movie was so high I wasn't interrupting anyone, but damn, it's a strange feeling to see what's coming when I haven't even seen or been spoiled on the movie. It's a similar kind of vibe I got when going into the Harry Potter movies after reading the books, or only here the games. But let's talk about Shadow and Gerald. Wow. Like I said, I was not expecting this, at least not this soon. I dead set thought, if anything, for the post-credit scene, Amy and/or Metal Sonic would be the central focus around this time, especially given Sonic CD and how that came out in between Sonic 2 and 3. And then for the third installment, that post-credit scene might have been Shadow. Now, I'm left with the question, is Silver in the air? Especially when Blur Studio and the director have no problems with those 6 elements and callbacks in both movies. Because while I'd love to see Silver eventually, especially with this universe's electricity for their power, and while I've often heard that 06 elements should have been made into a movie rather a game, I still can't help but wonder if they're just jumping ahead a bit too much. At the end of the day, they tweaked the design after a big backlash, so it's not like I don't trust them. As long as it's done right, that's all that matters. With that said, I do wonder when and if we'll get to see the day where we get Amy and Metal. I feel if they were present in the next film, it would be a bit crowded, especially with not just Team Sonic, Eggman, but also Shadow and probably Gerald and Maria thrown into the mix. Ah well, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But all we know is that Project Shadow is a thing, GUN and Gerald are involved, and the Master Emerald will likely be involved since it's in our hero's possession. Now it is at this point where I can see some people a bit dissatisfied with the same stories from the games, where it does appear that we are leaning to an SA2 in the form of Sonic 3 the movie. Don't know if that means we're skipping SA1 with Chaos and Tikal, or maybe the plan is to have Shadow and Eggman get the Master Emerald and revive Chaos with Eggman promising Maria's return if Shadow helps the Doctor, or something along those lines. I mean, I don't mind the idea of merging SA1 and 2's stories, but I can see some that just want a more original story with these movies. In my thoughts, at this point, I'm actually more curious to see how they would tackle Amy and Metal. Not to take away from Shadow, because I love Shadow and the Maria backstory, but I think it's because I know roughly what they are aiming for, and know that Shadow will be in the next one, to why I'm so curious, because I have no idea what they'd do with Amy and Metal. Who knows? Maybe? Just maybe, they could intertwine with the Knuckles solo series, assuming the story is less of a backstory to the events before Sonic 2, and instead after Sonic 2, showing Knuckles trying to live on Earth away from the Donut Lord family. It'd probably make more sense for a prequel than a sub-sequel, but I'm cool either way, whichever route they take. But if I were to guess, I'd say it probably will be a prequel story, and in which case hopefully explaining what the hell those masked creatures were at the start of the movie. But anyway, that's Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie. Did I enjoy it? I'd say it was overall positive, but there were some times where I was patiently waiting for meh scenes to finish. But yeah, I think the positives do outweigh the negatives. But with that said, the people that haven't played the games might not be able to overlook the scenes that don't include Sonic characters with the assumption that this defines what Sonic content is about, when most of the time, it doesn't. Could be why some of the more critical reviewers gave this a lower grade. But I think for me personally, I'd pit this around a 7 to 8.5 out of 10, or what I said on the way home, salt and vinegar Pringles out of 10. But with that said, what did you guys think of the movie? Did it live up to your expectations? Or like me, did you go in trying to have as little expectations as possible? Let me know below. Before I conclude everything, I'd like to address that when I went into this movie, and right now at the time of me recording this now, I haven't seen the final trailer for the movie, which may or may not have changed my experience compared to others. I only saw the trailer that I reacted to when I also covered my 2 cents on the Frontiers teaser. But now that I've watched the movie, I actually am curious how much the final trailer gives away, so feel free to skip to this timestamp if you want to jump ahead. Okay, we're going to react to this trailer, the final trailer as it's called. It's currently got 23,400,000. Yeah, with that, let's press play now. Oh, wow. Yeah, see, I had no idea. I had no idea about the wedding. Yes, even this. Yeah, low-key, I am glad I didn't watch this. Ooh. Yeah, wow. This gives away so much. It's just... I can't believe how much it actually gives away. Because it has like a progression. Ooh, wow. Wow, they even give... Okay. Bloody oath. Even this? Wow. Yeah, it's like... I said it before, it's like I really just... nowadays kind of trailers really have a way of stitching the editing together that can make you figure out the plot, you know, whether it's intentional or not, you know, it just, that's the way they kind of just make trailers now. So I'm actually really glad that I didn't watch it, because there would have been a lot that I would be like, oh yeah, I remember that from the trailer, and it's just, I had more of a positive reaction when going into it and seeing it without knowing, well, remembering the scenes, you know. So no, I really am glad that I managed to avoid this and didn't get either spoiled or just see clips of this trailer in other videos. Yeah, I feel like there was enough from just the first trailer alone, and that was far enough away to not so much forget, but for it to not be as on my mind as these scenes would have been, especially how close it was. But yeah, no, this is good. It further confirms how much I'm glad I actually managed to avoid this. So yeah, maybe give it a shot if you're interested in doing so in the future. Anyway, I apologize if my content has been on the lacking side of things lately. We had to move house recently. Hopefully soon we'll get my coverage on the PS6 Shadow release out soon. Assuming it doesn't get so late to the point where I just merge my coverage on the inevitable Silver release. It's just been an interesting time recently with trying to get things sorted. Could be related to me also trying to balance time for a book I'm writing that's been in the works for a few months now. I'm still in the process of having my PC in a comfortable state, because previously I could unplug my mic and plug it straight into the PC. Now, it's in a different room, for better or worse. I was even going to do a house tour of the house I spent my time slowly growing the channel in, beta testing PS6, and all that good stuff. But honestly, I have enough projects on my mind to think about, so I think I'll just leave it with this footage you're seeing now. But with that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and let me know what your favorite and least favorite thing was about the movie. Stay safe, and I'll catch you all next time, guys. Peace.